Breaking news, California is already preparing for war with North Korea. You can read a unclassified document that is available now. It is the Joint Regional Intelligence Center. You can also read the article that's available. This is available on the article. This is where I found it. Go to foreignpolicy.com. I'll leave the link in the video description box. It's titled, California is already preparing for a North Korean nuclear attack. Beware of radioactive pets and don't expect the feds to show up anytime soon. This just came out, folks. Now, even though, I'm going to go ahead and shut this headline off real quick. Even though the headline is brand new and this news just came out, virtually nobody's talking about this. This meeting took place last month, a little bit over a month ago. So I am prepared. I've got my nuclear biological mask just in case, and I've also got a Geiger counter so I can track the radiation levels. They've been fluctuating everywhere from 0.09 up to 0.17 just a little while ago. So they're all over the place right now. Currently, my Digi's showing 0.11. My watch is showing 0.10. That's microsieverts. That's how it's measured. That's not a high dosage, although it's higher than it used to be by over 30%. If you've ever heard me talk before, it used to average out 0.07 on a consistent basis, and over the past few years, it's slowly crept up. I've been tracking this since 2013, and mainly with my my watch, this thing has it's pretty darn accurate. It doesn't update as fast as the Digi does, but it does a really good job, and it has been recalibrated. I've had it sent to the shop back twice already. So that's one thing important as well with if you have any Geiger counters to keep them calibrated. Now you can see it's gone up to 0.12 and it'll probably bounce up to 0.17 again in a minute. But let me go over some of this. See, it's bouncing up to 0.14. It's interesting. It's moving. So I'm going to go over this Joint Intelligence Report, Joint Region, this right here, key points. Let's see, 0.14 still. Let's see if it's going to move anymore. Okay, it's going back down, 0.13. Keep an eye on it here. But let me go over some of this with you real quick, just the key points, and not even all the key points. This will be 10 minutes or less on the update here. A nuclear attack in the Joint Regional Intelligence Center area of responsibility would lead to devastating casualties and critical infrastructure damage and extended elevated radiation levels. And your name is Captain Obvious. Now, but a lot of people won't realize that. So readers are encouraged to familiarize themselves with the agency's radiological and nuclear emergency response plans. Identify their emergency preparedness and response roles and responsibilities. See, now it's up to 0.15. It's moving up again. That's a lot higher than normal. It shouldn't be that high. And when, it's staying at 0.15. So I don't like to see that. Now, once again, that's not a high level, but that's double what it used to be. And it stayed consistent for 2013. It stayed pretty darn consistent around 0.07. It fluctuated a little bit, but that's pretty much where it hung out most of the time. Now, let me get into this again. Electromagnetic pulse, EMPs, may severely impact communications and other vital infrastructure, hindering effective response. Yes. Now, if you're in LA, you're in California, you're in San Francisco, San Diego, Oakland, man, California has a lot of people. There's a lot of people out there. I'm just checking the levels. They're back down to 0.13. Traffic would be a nightmare. Could you imagine people trying to get out of there? Now, do you remember in 2013, North Korea showed the poster on the wall, showed the areas that they were going to nail, and then they also have propaganda of them going after DC as well. So this has been being pushed for years. But right now, especially with the nuclear threat being on the table, I feel that that's one of the final, there might be one or two more attempts to trigger it. And if those two attempts don't work with this, maybe they'll back off. But I think they're doing what they can to get the masses freaked out enough to say, oh, let's just go in there, let's just do a preemptive, or, oh, okay, you're justified. Maybe they would create a false flag or an event that maybe even wouldn't be a false flag, but orchestrated a certain way, and then they would smear it a certain way to get the peoples behind them. So, EMP, existing, this is where it says the delay on the federal, state, and local capabilities. Existing federal, state, and local capabilities and resources will be overwhelmed. The prioritization of capabilities and resources will be required. There's going to be no significant federal assistance on scene for 24 to 72 hours following the attack. The full extent of federal resources will not be available for several days. Immediate shelter, evacuation will be required by general public. Limited understanding of radiation risks. People will experience high anxiety and may be non-compliant. The radioactive levels are going to drop by more than half in the first hour and more than 80% in the first day. Well, it depends on what they use. Everyone should seek shelter regardless of proximity to ground zero or orientation to the path of fallout. Initial protection. Lie face down. Place hands under the body to protect exposed skin. Remain flat until the heat and shock waves have passed. Respiratory protection. That will prevent internal contamination by holding a cloth over your mouth or nose. Decontamination. Get rid of your clothes. Shower to minimize skin burns due to radioactive particles. Brush off visible particle contamination. Thank you, Captain Obvious. Food and water. Minimize the ingestion of contaminated water. Really? Okay, so 3 factors to limit exposure. Time. Distance. Shielding. So, background. On July 3rd, this is the background, scrolling down from the Joint Regional Intelligence Center Bulletin, released August 16, 2017. On July 30th, 2017, North Korea tested an intercontinental ballistic missile. It appeared capable of reaching the west coast of the United States. North Korea's propaganda videos feature ruins of San Francisco and Washington, D.C. Other nefarious actors, including terrorist groups, may seek to obtain and use nuclear weapons or improvise nuclear devices in the United States. In light of North Korea's growing nuclear capability, the JRIC is providing an overview of general considerations for responding to a nuclear attack in the JRIC AOR. First one, the basics. High altitude burst. Occurring above 100,000 feet. Destructive forces do not significantly affect the ground, but it may affect it causing an EMP. Air bursts below 100,000 feet. It doesn't reach the ground, the fireball doesn't, and doesn't pick up any surface material. The radioactivity, though, of an air burst is relatively insignificant compared to a surface ground burst. Then you've got the surface ground bursts, slightly above the ground, considerable debris, radioactive fallout, and then subsurface burst. Thermal radiation, ionizing radiation, uranium-235, plutonium-239. A lot of people thought that the 923 was going to be linked to that. They were going to do something. Still at 0.14. So it says here, a nuclear weapon explosion releases ionizing radiation primarily in the form of gamma rays and beta and alpha particles, which vary in rates of decay, half-life, and radioactivity. So depending on the types of radiation is going to depend on the health effects, yes. Alpha particles have high energy, but due to their low mass, do not travel far. Alpha radiation is blocked by skin, clothing, or even a sheet of paper. They are dangerous carcinogens when inhaled or ingested. Beta particles are fast-moving, able to travel through several feet of air, penetrate further than alpha particles. Unless ingested or inhaled, they pose less health risks. It says here, little health danger. Well, blast and shock effect. Thermal radiation, in addition to thermal radiation, the immediate destruction, action, and injuries are produced by a shock wave racing away from the explosion. Talks about the initial radiation, the fallout, distribution of fallout would be determined by topography and the weather conditions, wind direction. It says here that the most hazardous fallout particles are readily visible as fine sand-sized grains. Although if you don't see it, it doesn't mean it's not there. Then the EMP, in a high-altitude nuclear detonation, the large quantity of the gamma radiation absorbed by the surrounding air and ground creates a quick pulse, an electromagnetic wave. It doesn't pose a biological threat except for those with pacemakers and other implanted devices. Electrical components, power lines, antennas longer than 30 inches could be severely damaged. So, everything from a minor interruption to a burnout of computers, most electronic equipment, communication systems, computers, appliances that are electronic, automobiles and aircraft ignition systems could be affected. So be careful, folks. The key assumptions here: a nuclear attack in the U.S. will have severe repercussions, yes, for government operations, infrastructure, the environment, overall health and well-being of citizens. Well, there you go. Just a quick update. Be safe. Levels are bouncing back down to 0.10, but they're moving up again. So 0.10 microsieverts. Nothing to be alarmed. Even 0.17 isn't really much of an alarm, except for when it keeps bouncing up to that level. I don't like to see it. If you're on the coast, just because of all the propaganda, whether or not it's a button that's pushed by Kim in North Korea or by some shadow factions to create a global war, some rogue factions, whatever, the coast certainly seems like a place that I would be very aware of the consequences and how people are going to get, how nasty it's going to get, how fast it's going to get nasty. So have an option to get out of Dodge really quick if you can. And even so, something like this, you're probably not going to get any warning more than stuff like this, these news articles and stuff. I think this is about the most warning you're going to get before it actually happens, if it does. And let's hope not. Let's hope that we divert doom and it's just all propaganda. Nobody's going to get hurt and everybody's going to be able to, go get a latte tomorrow and turn on their big screen and, have a nice conversation on YouTube like we're doing. Let's hope that we can continue to do this and not have to worry about this it's not like you're worrying about it, you're being aware of it. Just because you're aware of it and you're prepared doesn't mean you're fearing it, doesn't mean you're scared. It means you're aware and you're prepared. What about those in Houston that weren't recently after the flood? What about those in New Orleans or, after Katrina and stuff? People need to be prepared, period. Or face the consequences. Doesn't mean you have to be scared. I wouldn't recommend that. I wouldn't recommend living in fear. I wouldn't recommend thinking the end of the world was going to happen. I would recommend, if you want to, I'm not even going to give you a recommendation. I would just say if you want to have a preparation set up, a bug out bag or something that if you need to take care of yourself, your family, for a few days at least, that you can do so. Be excellent to each other. Be the change you want to see. LeakProject.com. The radiation levels, they've been fluctuating everywhere from 0.09 up to 0.17 just a little while ago. So they're all over the place right now. Currently, my Digi's showing 0.11. My watch is showing 0.10. That's microsieverts. That's how it's measured. That's not a high dosage, although it's higher than it used to be by over 30%. If you've ever foreignpolicy.com, I'll leave the link in the video description box. It's titled, California is already preparing for a North Korean nuclear attack. Beware of radioactive pets and don't expect the feds to show up anytime soon. This just came out, folks. Now, even though I'm going to go ahead and shut this headline off real quick. Even though you've heard me talk before, it used to average out 0.07 on a consistent basis, and over the past few years, it's slowly crept up. I've been tracking this since 2013, and mainly with my my watch, this thing has it's pretty darn accurate. It doesn't update as fast as the Digi does. The headline is brand new, and this news just came out. Virtually nobody's talking about this. This meeting took place last month, a little bit over a month ago. So I am prepared. I've got my nuclear biological mask just in case, and I've also got a Geiger counter so I can track. Breaking news: California is already preparing for war with North Korea. You can read a unclassified document that is available now. It is the Joint Regional Intelligence Center. You can also read the article that's available. This is available on the article. This is where I found it. Go to